This is Scenic Roots. I'm Ray Bassett. Thanks for joining us. This month, Hamilton County government launched a new initiative to help fight the opioid crisis. The Overdose Prevention Team, through Hamilton County EMS, will deliver life-saving medication to people with opioid use disorder and connect people struggling with substance abuse to recovery resources. Hamilton County Mayor Weston Wamp says the initiative is the first of its kind in the state of Tennessee. I spoke with Mike Guerin, Public Information Officer and Recruiter at Hamilton County EMS, Katrina Hereford, the county's Program Manager for Overdose Prevention, and Christy Cooper, the county's Administrator of Public Safety. Christy, Mike, Katrina, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Tell us more about the Overdose Prevention Team.
About a year ago, Mayor Wamp gathered several of us, actually in the library here at UTC, and wanted some really innovative ideas about what to do with the opioid settlement monies that had come down from the state. And we sat around that table and we came up with this really interesting approach, which is partnering our EMS department with our health department to provide in-home MAT, or medicated assisted treatment, to patients that either are post-overdose or self-referred or referred from hospitals or other agencies. And it's a bridge program, so they can receive the medicated assistant treatment from us and at the same time be referred to our partners at the health department. The navigator there, under Katrina's team, will be connecting the patients to a wider support system throughout Hamilton County and beyond, depending on what the person's needs may be.
And Katrina, tell us more about what the navigator will do as part of this overdose prevention team.
The navigator with our overdose prevention program will assess the patient's needs and determine where they need to be in their treatment once they've finished the in-home Suboxone treatment.
And Mike, talk more about the EMS side of this approach.
We're really excited about this. This is a new service for our community, and our motto at Hamilton County EMS is setting the standard of care. And that's exactly what we're doing. This program is the first of its kind in the state of Tennessee. There's some other states, I know California, North Carolina have similar programs. So we're really excited, and it's a little different for us. We're used to going, treating the patient, getting them to the hospital. This is going to be a little different. If they want help, we're going to be able to follow up with them, doing in-home visits with the peer support counselors, working with the health department, navigating them to get treatment if they want help.
Up to now, it's been responding to an episode, responding to an incident, and then on to the next thing once that incident or episode is passed.
Right. And this is really a great example of community paramedicine. So seeing a need in the community and addressing that specific need. In this case, it's opioid use disorder or any sort of use disorder. And so what we're trying to do is assist people that want to get clean and haven't found the right avenue yet. We're taking it to them, to the home. It's going to be a benefit because when our paramedics and peer support specialists go into the home, they're going to be able to see some different things that maybe clinicians in the hospitals or in clinics don't see. Are they food insecure? Are they housing insecure? Do they have transportation issues? Do they have daycare issues? Do they need employment? So those are a lot of things that we can determine by going into the home and meeting them where they are, that we can refer over to the health department navigator and their team to be able to connect to the myriad support systems we have here and community outreach programs that we have in Hamilton County to provide whatever they may need to help them get over those hurdles that they have.
And this problem, it cuts across the county. We're talking about rural and urban alike.
That's correct. Sadly, this epidemic knows no boundaries. It can happen just as well on Signal Mountain as it can in the inner city. We, as EMS, we service every socioeconomic population in the county. We're excited about this.
What we're able to offer then, the road to recovery is a long one. So in early days of recovery, if you can remove as many barriers from treatment as possible, then that makes that journey to recovery that much easier for the individual. It's about willingness on the individual's behalf to be a part of this. And so establishing trust in those early days is important. To be able to work with not only a peer support specialist, somebody who's been there, who understands how hard it is to be in a place like that, and a navigator to help them get connected to the support that they need. It's a win-win situation. They're removing the barriers and they're getting connected to the treatment they need.
I want to add that addiction and substance use disorder is not always about what we think in the movies. Sometimes it can be because you've had a terrible accident and you have pain that just lingers and you can't get over that pain. Sometimes you've had surgery and these medications have been prescribed to you and you've had the prescriptions and unfortunately you've become addicted to them. Sometimes you've had dental work that has called for these kind of medications. So it's not always what we think of as drug abuse. And Mike's right. It's not always in the economically disadvantaged communities. There are people throughout this county that, depending on where they live, is irrelevant. I would say that their income level is irrelevant. Their socioeconomic status is irrelevant. Anybody can form an addiction to these medications. And we're trying to break down that stigma. And by coming into the home, and we're going to be using unmarked vehicles to come into the neighborhoods. We're not going to be rolling into the neighborhoods in ambulances and sirens blaring. When someone requests to participate in our program or they agree to participate in our program, it's going to be very discreet. Your neighbors won't know, community won't know. During the 5 to 7 days while our peer supports and our paramedics are coming into the community to come into your home to provide the medication-assisted treatment, it's going to be a very confidential relationship. It will be a confidential relationship with the navigator and the team at the health department. And then those confidential relationships will continue as our clients are referred out to the support systems within the community.
And to your question about it being countywide, we're able, if they're in a neighborhood and we're over here and at our location, we're able to do telehealth. So they can give us a call and we can meet the individual face-to-face on a phone or on a tablet or something. So we're able to have that meeting right then and there.
And while there has been progress against aspects of this problem, there's more to do. And as you all know, problems that unfortunately endure like this, they also evolve. And you have to try to get ahead of that as best you can.
You're exactly right. And I was thinking as we were talking earlier, examples that Christy told about folks having accidents and pain. And we've had great strides as far as physicians are limited on how much medication they can prescribe, pain medications that they can prescribe patients. However, we know that these folks, if they're truly addicted, they're going to find other avenues. So it's still a problem out there.
The other thing is that this is an evolution. Years ago, whenever the opioid crisis began, it was with controlled substances and it was with prescription-based substances. But it's evolved now to being fentanyl-laced synthetic substances. And we're no longer seeing opioids mixed with fentanyl. It can be fentanyl mixed in meth. It can be fentanyl mixed in cocaine. We're seeing lots of different substances. So it has transitioned just because the community in itself has transitioned as well, too. So these are people who are using very unsafe, very dangerous illicit substances. And to be able to help an individual get away from that substance, it's really important. So we watch the trends as a community and we work on our prevention, our education, and our outreach.
We wanted to eliminate the barriers to treatment. And sometimes that might mean that clients don't want to leave their home. They don't want to lose their children. They don't want to lose their job. They don't have an extended period of time to go to inpatient care. So we wanted to provide this as a different type of program to get the medicated assisted treatment to them and provide the community supports that fit with their lives. Not everything works for everybody. So this is a customized program to try to work with each person where they are on their recovery road.
And for people who want more information about this, people want to reach out and get help, how can they do that?
There's a couple different ways. They can, of course, basics, dial 911. They can reach out to Hamilton County EMS or the Hamilton County Health Department. We'll be able to give you the avenues and any information that you might need. And we do encourage people to call. It's confidential. It's just like all other healthcare things. Your information is protected. And as Christy said earlier, we're doing this very discreetly. We don't want to bring attention to these folks because that's another barrier. People are embarrassed. They don't want to be looked upon in any certain ways. That's some of the avenues that you can get in touch with us.
We're currently hiring for our paramedics, our peer support specialists, and our navigator role. The job postings are open right now at our Hamilton County TN website, and also can be linked through the Hamilton County EMS website. So we're hiring 3 teams, a paramedic and a peer support specialist, and then 1 navigator to join Katrina and her team at the health department. So if anybody is interested in those roles, please contact us. Please look for those job postings. We want passionate, caring individuals that have a calling for this type of work. It's not for everyone. We want people that can really see drug abuse and substance abuse as a disease, which it is. So we're looking for the right people to fill these roles and hope we can find dedicated individuals to do that.
All right, Christy, Mike, Katrina, thanks so much.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you so much, Ray.
Sarah Whitney is a violinist celebrated around the world for pushing the boundaries of classical music by blending contemporary sounds. A performer, an educator, and a career coach for musicians, Sarah will be in residence this week, Wednesday through Friday, here on our campus, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. On Friday at 7:30 p.m., Sarah will perform a free public concert in the Chatta Recital Hall here on campus, presenting classical and pop crossover pieces featuring the use of a loop pedal to build layered performances in real time. I spoke with Sarah, Dr. Jonathan McNair, the Ruth S. Holmberg Professor of American Music here at UTC, and Mike Bradshaw, Director of the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, part of UTC's Gary W. Rollins College of Business. Jonathan, Sarah, Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ray. It's great to be with you.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, great to be here.
Jonathan, tell us more about this collaboration.
I first met Sarah Whitney in 2020. She performed a solo violin work of mine, gave it an incredibly beautiful performance. And then we got to talking, and it was like she could do a residency with our composition students during lockdown and do it virtually from Boston. And so we set that up for fall 2021. It went great. And then we kept in touch. Then I discovered that she also does career coaching for musicians. So I decided, hey, there's some things I'd like to achieve that I'm not achieving. I don't know how, and maybe she could help me. So I started working with Sarah in that capacity, and it's been great. And then I got to thinking, you know what? She is a really successful entrepreneur. I wonder if I can interest our entrepreneurship folks on campus in co-sponsoring a residency with Sarah in person, doing both music and talking about being an entrepreneur in the arts. And so I went and talked with Mike Bradshaw and Tom Lyons and Stephanie Gillison over in entrepreneurship and marketing, and they liked the idea. And they met with Sarah, and here we are.
And Mike, of all the entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs that you've worked with over the years, have you ever participated in this type of collaboration?
Yeah, probably a little known fact of this entrepreneurial ecosystems development in Chattanooga, for which we have a little bit of credibility nationwide for having something really wonderful happen here in the city with regard to entrepreneurship and everybody pitching in and working together to help each other. The origin story is that when CoLab first began as an organization called Create Here, back in 2008, I had become a volunteer there and really liked what was going on. I'd never seen anything like it, being a private business, just people getting together and helping each other. But the very first group that was part of this were artists. CoLab started as a way of helping artists make a living, as simple as that. If you want to do your art, you need to have some sustaining source of income. And it's even better if it's because of your art. And that makes you a de facto entrepreneur. And I'd say that movement, as far as our involvement, started in Asheville, North Carolina. And so we borrowed liberally from them and what they were doing, because that community has a large population of artists. So we borrowed from them, used them as a model. And that was really the beginning of the company Lab. We later spun out that part of our organization that developed into Co-Starters, which is now selling nationally and internationally, helping people with the same thing. And of course, the base is broadened out beyond artists to include all people starting a business. And so when Jonathan came and had this wonderful opportunity with Sarah, it was so easy to say yes. I was really excited about it because it goes back to roots on the one hand, and it's important to our community now. We have several organizations here that are chartered to help artists make a living from their creativity.
And Sarah, tell us more about your background as a musician and how you branched out to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I'm a musician by training. I went to school for music. I went to music schools and studied intensely. Really, honestly, on the track to be in an orchestra as a violinist. That's what I thought I would do. It's really the only thing that anybody ever told me I could do professionally for many years. And at a certain point in graduate school, I realized that's not what I wanted to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but that sort of led me on this entrepreneurial path of really learning how to create my own projects. And I think a lot about entrepreneurship is you have an idea, and then how do you turn it into a reality? And that can be applied, of course, to music and my career, but so many different places. And it first started with an ensemble that I was a part of for a very long time in New York City called Sybarite 5. And when I moved to New York City, we weren't anything at all. And over the course of my time with that group, we built that group up together into a professional touring ensemble. And through the course of those years, not only did we become a professional touring ensemble, which was a huge accomplishment in itself, but the way we did it was really unique to the music industry. And very much we were tapping into entrepreneurship in a different way. We weren't doing traditional classical concerts like many people were. We were changing the concert experience. We were looking at things differently and sort of changing the model, the traditional model, if you will. And through that process, I learned so much, not only about how do you turn an idea into a reality, but the many creative ways that you can do it, which really taps into what is true to you, what is most important to you. There's so many ways we could do things, well-intentioned advice or influences, you need to do it this way, you should do it this way. But I really learned that I didn't necessarily have to do things the way everyone else said I should. And that really got me interested in the entrepreneurship angle of creating things the way I wanted to create them. So that ensemble was the first endeavor. I also started a concert series 10 years ago. These all started as experiments, by the way, and sort of, launched into bigger things. And long story short, I also have a career coaching business now as well. And I would say that all of the skills that I have used to build these different pieces of my business portfolio, I suppose you could call it, sort of stemmed from my early years of being in that ensemble and learning about branding and marketing and how do you really sort of create your own thing, the budgeting, the whole back end of it. And they're also skills that I realized many musicians didn't have and needed. So I share that knowledge in my coaching business as well.
Talk more about what you plan to share here in Chattanooga on the way to the concert that you will perform here.
Yes. Well, I'm really excited. I'm doing a bunch of different activities. I will be working with music students at the music school, doing workshops, visiting classes, as well as the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, doing things there as well. And what I really love I work with students a lot. I teach at a university here in Boston and do a lot of university visits. It's really looking at what I believe are the essential skills that you need in order to, like I said, take your idea and turn it to a reality. And there's so many different ways to look at that. I like to take the mystery out of it. So a lot of what I'll do is I'll be talking about my story. I think there's a lot of mystery. People look at someone, quote, successful and say, how did they get there, right? What is the path from when they graduated college to where they are now? And there's a lot of mystery. So I really want to uncover that. And I think depending on who I'm talking to, if it's music students, if it's non-music students, there's so many conversations that can be had from that. And a lot of it is me sharing my experiences of all the things that I thought I knew that I didn't, or the things that I later found out I wish I'd known. I want to be a resource for the students there to really, so they can walk away feeling more confident, more informed, and more confident about really creating the things they want to create, whether it's musical in the arts or not, because so many of the skills that I work on, yes, some are music specific, that is my field. However, so many of them are not. I look at the mindset piece, right? How do you put yourself out there in a way where, we look at confidence, right? If you have an idea you're going to share with the world, that might feel really scary, right? Like, how do you let go of the fear of judgment from others or put yourself out there in a way that is confident? And that's a skill that applies to anybody creating something. And then we also look at some of the business skills, right? When you have an idea, how do you differentiate it from all the other ideas similar to yours? And how do you really get it out there? How do you connect to the right people who want to be a part of it? Or if it's a product or a service that want to purchase it. So there's a lot of all of that. So those are just some of the things we're going to be looking at. But as I mentioned, I really want students to walk away with a greater understanding, right? I want the mystery, but there to be less mystery about how do you actually do this in the real world beyond school.
And then talk about the concert.
Yes. So I am so thrilled to be doing a concert. I'm going to be doing a solo violin concert, and it will be a combination of solo violin works, but also I do a lot of stuff for violin and loop pedal. So loop pedal is an electronic device, I suppose, because that's what you call it. And what it allows me to do is I plug my violin. I have a microphone that plugs into an amplifier. And with the loop pedal, I'm able to create phrases and record them and then layer different phrases on top, essentially turning myself into a band or an orchestra whatever you prefer. It's a whole world that I just love. And I do a lot of arrangements myself. I've arranged a lot of different things for Lute Pedal. I also have some original compositions by composers that I will share. So it will be a really eclectic evening. There will be tunes you know, tunes you don't know. But one of my favorite things to do as an artist is present programs that really surprise and delight audiences. And my hope is that you'll walk away sort of having an experience that you didn't expect in a good way. I really want to bring new concert experiences to my audiences and just have a whole lot of fun along the way.
I'm excited. I know that Sarah does some pop music covers. I mean, and this stretches back to her time with Super 5, because that was one of the things that they did along with new works written for them. And they actually came to UTC on the Patent Fine Art Series. I think it was 2014 or around there. And it was a great concert. They talked to the music composition students and so forth. But just seeing what Sarah can do with one instrument and this loop pedal device to be able to build layers and create this really energetic, rhythmic, melodic, harmonic experience, it's just going to be fun. It's really going to be fun. And no doubt that there'll be some other music that has some profound moments as well. So it'll be, something for everyone.
I just really love listening to Sarah's discussion of entrepreneurship. It's so spot on to the mindset that we hope to create and help foster in our students. We're really excited that April 3rd, Sarah's going to share that line of thought with her students and with community members here at the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. We're in the James Arnett building, room 213, and it'll be 6 o'clock on the 3rd. Where Sarah will be here, open house. It's going to be so much fun. And having heard her now, I feel like the folks that get here and hear are going to be very fortunate. And then you go enjoy the concert the next.
And that concert will be Friday, April 4th in the Chatta Recital Hall here on campus. For more information about Sarah's visit, the events where she will appear here on campus, where can people go online?
Well, the music department website, which is utc.edu/music. And on the front page of our music website is a photo and a bit of a story on Sarah's residency here, and gives the date and time of the concert. One more thing on the concert, the Chattown Recital Hall is a historic and a wonderful sounding hall here in Chattanooga, and parking is free, as is the concert is free, open to the public. And parking is really easy. There's a parking garage right behind the building, and people can park on that kind of middle level and just walk out of the garage up to the back door of the Chatta building, walk in the back door. There's an elevator right there, or they take the stairs up one level if they wish, and then come around to the lobby. It's a wonderful sounding hall. So if you go to the music website, utc.edu/music, and then we'll also be sharing stuff on social media from the music department.
All right, Jonathan, Sarah, Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
What are the stories of people who are homeless here in Chattanooga? Chattown Chatta, Are Homeless, is a collection of interviews with some of those people. The book version, edited by Mark Anderson, contains 21 interviews, transcribed from 3.5 hours of video, while the documentary film runs 58 minutes. This weekend, the film will be screened on Saturday at 2 p.m. at the downtown Chattanooga Public Library and on Sunday at 3 p.m. at Barking Legs Theater, followed by panel discussions moderated by Mark. I spoke with him about the book earlier this year. Mark, thanks for joining us.
So great to be here again.
What inspired you to write this book, to conduct these interviews that led to this book?
What really led to it, in my neighborhood, I saw a fellow riding around on his bike with one leg. He was able to pedal with one leg and had his crutches across the handlebar, and I was fascinated by him. It looked very interesting. But then, a few days later, I noticed that he was coming and going from the vacant building next to my apartment building. So I realized he was homeless and he was living in that building. And then I just felt like I needed to meet him and ask what his story is. And when I did, the writer in me said, well, I should record this. And if I'm interested, maybe other people would want to hear his story too.
And there are so many stories in this book, each unique, but also some common threads.
Common threads. A lot of it, I was focused on the presumption that everyone that's homeless is a drug addict. And the common thread is that how many are not drug addicts or substance abusers of any kind. I found there was diversity in race, about 50-50, black and white. The people that did have substance problems were honest about that, because I asked them, what led to your homelessness? And someone would say drugs and alcohol right up front and just so honest about it. Others would say, no, I haven't drunk in 29 years. A number of them were physically disabled. 2 were mentally disabled to some degree. They should just be on SSI and living in housing somewhere. But it was so sad to see their situations.
How difficult was it for you at times to approach some of these people, to get some of these people to open up to you?
Most of the time, I just found people randomly along the street. They were asking for money or living under the freeway, and I would say, would you like to tell your story? I'm writing a book, recording this. Sometimes they would say, no, I'm not interested, and then I would offer some money. I offered them $25. Then they agreed, but mostly, always actually, they were all very pleased to tell their story, and they felt like they had been heard and listened to, and that the society needed to hear them.
What are some answers that surprised you from these people?
The number of them that were not on drugs or alcohol, some that were physically disabled and some mentally challenged. How many were from Chattanooga natives? I was saddened by some of the stories, like a lady, the ones that were raised in foster care or had been homeless for decades, that this had just become their lifestyle. They're real touching stories. Every one of them, you get to know people behind people you see on the street.
Do you get a sense that any of these people were getting any help from anywhere or even aware of it?
I asked that question explicitly to almost all of them. Some of them had tapped into the resources, mostly the Chat Foundation was just such a huge blessing to some of them. And they'd said, yeah, it was the Chat Foundation. Their social worker got me plugged in, and now I'm on the waiting list for housing. And they were really thankful for that. Others was just mind-boggling how they fall through the cracks. They obviously needed help, would be candidates for help, but were not getting it. So that is a really interesting topic.
You talked about the person that you encountered who inspired you to embark on this project. Talk about a few more people that you met along the way.
Well, there was a lady named Fluffy who was asking for money down at the corner of 20th and where you get on the freeway down there. And she said that her and her husband had moved here from Ohio about a year ago because he had some relatives here, and then something happened and they couldn't stay with the relatives, so they were on the street, and then he left her. He abandoned her, and she said he had beat her, and she was making it on her own. At the end of it, I says, is there anything you would like to say to the people of Chattanooga? Just final words, and just said, I'm glad you are not treating us like animals. It just really hurts to most of us to be looked down upon like we're animals. And then she ended up by saying, I miss my family so much. Very touching stories.
And that final question you asked her, that was your final question to each of the people that you interviewed that we learn about in this book. I'm going to ask you that question. What do you have to tell the people of Chattanooga after this experience and through this book with all the people that you met?
Each of us could be closer to homelessness than we realize. Number one, no one knows who's going to have a brain tumor or an accident or be unemployed next week. It is so important to listen to the stories of other people. It's how we humanize each other. I think every household in Hamilton County needs to experience these stories. In that sense, I really hope and trust that as a writer, my goal as a writer is writers are world changers. I hope that this would maybe stimulate some effect in public policy. One more thing I'll add, I've taken all this video footage and put it into a documentary film with a lot of editing. It's down to a 45-minute film. We'll be showing that probably at Bark and Legs sometime here in the next few months and having some panel discussions along with that film.
And we look forward to talking about that when that is set and as we get closer to that. In the meantime, if people want to check out this book for themselves, you self-published, where can people go online?
It's on Amazon, and also locally it's at the Rev Coffee and Books in Hickson, and hopefully here soon in Winder Binder on Fraser Avenue.
This all comes through Chattown Press. Let's talk about that.
Chattown Press is my own label right now. The label of the book is Chattown Chatta, and I hope to do more interviews with people we need to hear from.
And where can people check that out online?
chattownpress.net.
All right. Mark, thanks so much.
Thank you again. Thanks, WUTC.
I'm Ray Bassett. Join us again next time for Scenic Roots.